I'm Brian Van.
I'm Max Van.
SportbikeTrackGear.com. Today we're going to install a set of Attack Performance rear sets on our 2015 STG Yamaha R1. Okay, a couple months back we did a quick little intro video on Attack, right? It's been a busy summer. We're finally getting to the install right now. Epic adjustment with this. You can rotate the foot pegs, right? Here's the main bracket. You can move that foot peg bracket around. You know, you look at the brake lever here, folding tip, length adjustable, the whole gig. So let's talk a little bit about the install and what it's going to take to do that. This thing comes with an exploded view. It's pretty self-explanatory stuff, right? Great machining quality here. And remember, these are real deal racing parts, Attack Performance. Do a little research on them. You'll see they're heavily involved in racing. So all the way to the MotoGP level. This dude made his own MotoGP bike and they competed on it, okay? So with the R1, these are available in two colors, right? We've got the silver color that we're gonna install today. You do need to reuse your stock exhaust mount bracket if you do not have a different style exhaust that uses a bracket that would come off the subframe. So we've got that installed on here now, and we're gonna dive right into this. This is a pretty basic install. We're gonna start back here at the exhaust bracket, right? Let's get that loose first. Basic hand tools for this, nothing really out of the ordinary. And remember too, when you see these rear set videos, or even a lot of these parts install videos where we're using the same bike and installing multiple brands of parts on it, it's not necessarily about one being better than the other or one being the preferred brand. It's about showcasing the differences between them, okay? One of the things that I really like to see from the different brands that we deal with is their philosophy. How do they approach the rear set? How do they approach the exhaust, right? The Vortex that we're pulling off here, what they did is they built a fixed position Superbike style rear set for the R1. You know, in Attack, they stayed with a more traditional, heavily adjustable version, right? Honestly, I think for the R1 at this point, we've installed multiple sets. I would have to say that the Attack are going to be the most adjustable of all the kits we have installed thus far. Rear master cylinder here. All right, slide the heel guard off. Like so. Okay, now the last thing that we need to manage is going to be the pin for the rear brake Clevis. Got to get our cotter pin here. You can typically reuse these if you're careful with it. Just need to basically collapse the tangs and then pull it through. If you do damage it, you can pick one up at a hardware store. It's really very easily sourced. Can also substitute safety wire. So here is the Vortex piece that we're removing. When I come back, we'll be installing the Attack. Okay, now we're ready to reinstall, okay? This is really pretty straightforward stuff like any other rear set kit that I've ever installed. The one major exception is going to be there's an epic amount of adjustability here. We're heading to the track this weekend, as a matter of fact. Leaving today, of course, last minute. Louis, let's put the new rear sets on right now. Just like every other motorcycle rider out there, right? That's how we do it. So there's a strong chance that when I get to the track, right, that I'm going to need to probably dial these in just a little bit. Let's take a look at how the rear brake master is going to mount up, see if I have anything that's going to be an issue. Nope, that looks all good. Okay, so how we're going to begin here is this. I want to take and clean this up. This pivot pin. This isn't something that you have to do, but it's worthwhile. Anytime you have metal-to-metal contact, lubrication is never a bad thing. Thin film is really all that you're going to need there. Okay, put that on. Let's go ahead and get the brake master. Clevis in place like so. I'm going to hold it. What I'm actually going to do this time, I'm going to slide it through this way. All right, work it around, get it to slide through. Cotter pin. Cotter pin, she's getting a little haggard. I think this has got to be probably the 5th set of rear sets this bike has seen. And that is the OEM cotter pin. Safety wire is definitely a great substitute, so if you find yourself in a situation where that cotter pin has shit the bed on you, you can always use that. Close this up just a little bit more here. Slide that through. Wrap these around. Like so. And with the cotter pin too, you can take a second and get those tangs and kind of work them around that pivot pin just a little bit, right? Do a nice clean install, like so. Okay, now we'll rotate this into position. The Vortex rear set came with its own mounting bolts. This one is going to work best with the stock bolts. So what I did is I went through all my spare bolts and I found the stock rear set bolts. Those are back in there now. Brake master cylinder. This is a great place to use some thread locker. I don't always do this because the truth is, you know, we spend a lot of time here swapping parts out on these bikes, and it's typically not going to stay on there as long as it will on your own bike. You buy it, you install it, odds are it's going to be on there for a long time. With our bikes here, we're going from one to the next over and over. Okay, so the odds of them breaking loose are dramatically reduced. Let's get those brake master mount bolts in there. Okay, now mount bolts to the frame. You'll note I'm going to seat these, okay, but I'm not going to torque them right now. Run them both down, flush, like so, and then we'll go ahead and hit them with torque. A little Loctite here is definitely not a bad idea, okay? I've opted out of the Loctite there. Now we'll go over to our brake master mount bolts. Same process there. Get them seated, torque them down. It's never a bad idea to use a torque wrench. You all know I typically don't, but you need to decide what's best for you and do just that. Just checking all the fasteners right now to make sure that we're good to go. We don't have any surprises. Let's talk a little bit about the adjustability here now. This foot peg can be rotated by loosening this. You can adjust the foot peg mount to any of the positions you see here. I chose one that mimicked what I had with the Vortex for now. It's going to be a good starting point for me. Brake pedal. You're able to change the length very easily. Spring-loaded folding tip. For the exhaust mount, stock hardware. These kits are available in black as well as this hard anodized silver color, okay? One knock, if I've got one negative right now, and this is just an aesthetic thing. If I would have chose the black rear set kit, right? This bracket, this stock bracket would have really matched well. Well, I didn't. I went with the hard anodized silver, so you do have a little bit of a contrast there. You know, end of the day, not a big deal. You can always go with the all black kit, and then that is a non-issue, okay? Double check all your controls. Obviously, once I get the shift side installed, I'm gonna get on the motorcycle with the boots I'll ride in, right? Make sure everything is in the right position before I ride the bike. Now we're gonna go over to the shift side. Okay, we're over to the shift side now, and if you've watched this, you watched me do rear sets before, shift side is almost always the easier of the two. Already having the Vortex kit on here, okay? If you need to see stock stuff with the R1, you can go back to some of my earlier videos. Those are gonna be there, right? The stock ones, removing them, piece of cake. You can use that as a reference if you need it. We'll begin with a footrest, low-hanging fruit here. The way the R1 is set up, we are using the kickstand mount down here to hold the shifter, right? That's the way they do it from the factory, and that's the way the kits that we've installed thus far are designed to just move that forward. So super easy here, okay? Once again, back to stock hardware. Get them seated, and then go ahead and run them down nice and even. I'm going to double check everything else. Carbon heel guards too, those are gorgeous. Okay, now down to the actual shifter itself. We just need to unbolt the shift rod. I've got the auto blip downshift, right, on this bike. So that kind of changes this a little bit, right? We're just gonna be reusing that shift rod, which is what you'll be doing, you know, even your stock shift rod for obvious reasons, right? If you don't have the auto blip, you know, you still have on there that factory shift rod with the auto shifter. You need that shift rod, so you're just going to reuse that. This kit is designed to just move that forward, okay? So let's get the mount for the Heim joint out. I'm going to remove this. Like so. And how this kit came is it actually came just like this, with that cable tie, holding the bolt and the washer in place. It almost looks like he's got a little thread locker on there already, right from the factory. You can see with this kit, you can do standard or GP shift. There's holes front and back, okay? So that is an option. If you want to stay street pattern, no problem. GP shift, also no problem. While that is, I mean, there is zero play there, right? There wasn't a lot in the other one, but there is zero play in this bad boy. Now, shift rods, right? And let's talk about leverage and angles, okay? You want to really shoot for, you know, as close to 90 degrees as possible, right? So in my case here, I'm going to be able to reuse. I'm going to use that first hole. I think is going to be the best one, best option for me here. This shifter is actually threaded too, so we're going to be going threading into that itself, there should be enough thickness to get us through there, right, easily. And then have some threads on the outside. I may install that nut just as a, you know what, it's kind of a jam nut, right? Lock that in place. Probably a little overkill here. I don't remember exactly what the stock hardware was like. I can't remember if that's a stock bolt or if that's a bolt that was supplied with the Vortex kit or not. You know, but in this case, what I'm going to do here is I've got the length, I've got the nylock nut, and a little extra security is never going to be a bad thing. Snug that down. Before the motorcycle is ridden, remember, put your boots on. Put your riding boots on. Whatever boots you're going to wear to ride this bike, those are the ones that you want to have on when you dial all these foot controls in. Tons of adjustability here, right? I want to showcase some of this. Man, there's zero play in that. That is just bitching. Loosen those up, and you are able to relocate this thing. Let's see here, I'm gonna have to bolts a little further out. It's kind of snug actually into its mount here, so the tolerance right here, the grooves that it rides in. So even if these bolts become just a little bit loose, and that's some forward thinking, by having these ledges here, if those bolts come just a tiny little bit loose, right, it's not going to jump right over that. So these things would have to be epically loose before this thing started moving around, right? There's a lot of thought put into this. But if you look now, right, look at, I mean, we are able to move this thing a ton. So basically, no matter how big or small you are, I mean, you're going to be able to take these attack rear sets and get these into a position where they're going to work just awesome for you, dial them right in. I would say the strength of this particular kit is going to be that massive amount of adjustability, along with the engineering that's behind it. You know, the guy behind this company, tremendous experience, been doing this forever, right? And it shows when you look at these parts, the quality of machining, the quality of materials. You get everything on the motorcycle. And this is the first time that I've installed a set of attack rear sets, to be completely honest with you. You handle these things, I mean, it takes like a half a second before you understand they are something special, right? The price, it's a little more spendy than some of the kits, no doubt about it, but I believe you're getting strong value for it. These are the attack adjustable rear sets, our STG install video. I'm Brian Van.